And then I opened up the yellow pages and just started pitching. At the heart of what we do is community building. So, although our mission is to reduce senior isolation, whatever way we can deliver service and program that benefits both generations, that creates relationships and dialogue between generations, it just spills over into so many other aspects of people's lives. Really, what we're doing is creating an open dialogue between two generations that is literally the building blocks in local communities to have community.
I love that you have created a way for more people to get involved and just reach out in connection in just a simple way.
There's these beautiful conversations that become friendships, that become the ways that inform the way that young people are hoping to be in the future. And it's just through these opportunities we're giving for different generations to come together in a really relatable, fun, and engaging way.
Can a makeover make all the difference in creating healthy communities? Welcome back to the Six Pack. I'm your host, Stacy Huston, Executive Director at SixDegrees.org. And today I'm chatting with Rachel Doyle, founder and CEO of GlamourGals, who is making the world a little bit brighter and pinker by working to reduce social isolation among two of the most vulnerable populations, teenagers and senior citizens. Rachel, welcome to the Six Pack.
Thank you so much for having me.
And in full disclosure, GlamourGals is one of our selected nonprofits for the Purpose Produced campaign. And we love your work so much. So I'm just excited that the rest of our community gets to learn a little bit more about it today.
Fabulous. I'm excited to share.
So let's jump right in then. If you could just tell us a little bit about your organization, how you guys kind of bring your mission to life.
Absolutely. Well, we are empowering young people to reduce senior isolation and loneliness in their local communities. And we really do this through three key programs. I actually started the organization 25 years ago. I'm dating myself. 25 years ago as a teen. And that's really the heart of our program, our teen volunteer chapters that go into local senior centers, assisted living, dementia units to provide conversation, companionship, and our signature program of complimentary beauty makeovers. And that's what I think really sets us apart as an intergenerational organization that's relationship building versus performative. But it doesn't stop there because it's important to recognize that not all of our volunteers are born leaders. So we have a leadership program that supports them with training, mentorship, and recognition, everything from a full college scholarship and more. And then after 25 years, we made a little bit of a pivot, well, a little, I should say, a big pivot. In our 20th anniversary, when COVID hit, we had an urgent response and we created a program called My Dear Friend. And it has now become an award-winning global card writing program that allows us to welcome not only the young people, the teens in our service, but anyone, anywhere to help us reduce senior isolation in their local communities.
That's incredible. And it's really a gift because then you're creating other pathways for people to get connected in these activities of service. But also combating their own loneliness because we know it's an epidemic. You know, the US Surgeon General in 2023 declared it as such, and many other countries even have positions in their government and federal levels that are talking about how do we combat loneliness in our own community. So it is one of those things that are being talked about a little bit more. But I love that you have created a way for more people to get involved and just reach out in connection in just a simple way.
You know, you hit upon something that I think is so important, that at the heart of what we do is community building. So, although our mission is to reduce senior isolation, whatever way we can deliver service and program that benefits both generations, that creates relationships and dialogue between generations, it just spills over into so many other aspects of people's lives. You know, we talk about card writing. It's sometimes fun to get crafty and not be behind your computer, or putting down your cell phone to sit and have a conversation with a senior and ask them what color nail polish they would like. So, I
Yeah.
love that you brought that up. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm sure there's lots of different reasons, and a lot of rewarding parts of your work, but what would you say, like, the most rewarding part of your work is?
Oh, Stacey, that's a hard
I
question.
know.
But I'm
It
like,
always
okay,
is.
this is like number two, and it's a hard question. I love, I just love seeing the friendships and relationships that are created between generations. You know, I have been to hundreds, maybe even over 1,000 GlamourGals makeover events, and every single one of them maybe starts with a quiet room of people a little bit hesitant, and it always ends, you know, kind of loud or laughter. And what's shared is, you know, people having a conversation and finding how much that's they're so connected. Example, during a makeover I've been at, I remember sitting down with another volunteer and the teen trading like book lists with the senior and just saying like, "Oh, are you reading that book? I am reading that book." Or and at another makeover, and these were completely different locations. At another makeover, we had someone talking about how they were going to prom and actually designing their prom dress, and it turns out the woman they were giving a makeover to was a seamstress. And so they actually ended up designing the prom dress together. And it goes so far as to maybe they're going to switch their college major, but their parent might be not as excited. Oh, you don't want to do pre-med anymore? You want to go into hospitality? But there's these beautiful conversations that become friendships, that become the the ways that inform the way that young people are hoping to be in the future. And it's just through these opportunities we're giving for different generations to come together in a really relatable, fun, and engaging way.
Yeah, I was, reading that there was a 2023 survey where there was actually a pretty large decline in young women that were 5th grade to 12th grade, and them actually saying that they were confident. So it was like 18% decline, and that was in from 2017 to 2023. So, I mean, why do you think that is? Do you find that, like, getting them out of their routine and engaging with folks that they maybe wouldn't typically engage with helps build some of their confidence and how they see themselves?
It breaks my heart to think about young women feeling that, that desperation of not having the confidence to go forward. And I think anytime that I've looked or my team has looked to create programming that is relevant in their lifestyle and just has them starting the activity, I think I've seen so many transformations. Not I think, I know I've seen so many transformations of the volunteers that come to our program as really shy people that don't consider themselves leaders. And with the right support, so Glamour Gals is their best friend and biggest advocate. We're not their parent or teacher. We're not paying them to do this service. We're just providing them with the opportunities and the support to do this over and over, even through challenges. So, my answer to that stat is to continue to provide these opportunities where we inspire them in a way that's relatable. Hey, it's just asking a senior, what color nail polish would you like? And yes, they're allowed to change it 5 different times because when have you made a decision and decided, I want to make a different decision? Like there's a
Yeah.
power. There's a power in that.
Yeah.
So, this idea of putting them in situations that are supported, that are environments that are dialogue and conversational, and then allow them to reflect through our programming, allows us to hopefully make an impact on that stat. And we've seen that in our own programming where we've had leadership training, we've had surveys done after the makeovers and how do they feel and the confidence they have. And it's like 99% feel more confident in their communications with others. And it just starts with like, ask your friends to try something new. And, it's how you set it up, but then it's how you follow through as an organization that I think makes the real impact.
No, absolutely. It's the continuity of that relationship and those systems that
Totally.
come in place so you can continue it. So I mean, you said you started this when you were a teenager. So what made you want to do this work? Not every teenager's like, and I want to do this weekend. I want to go to a care facility, hang out with some of these, wonderful elderly people and have conversations, right? So there had to have been something, an impetus, and I would love if you could just share what that was for you.
Personally, I've always been civic minded. I was that student who was like in every club, on every team, on every, society or whatever it is. And a lot of it had become very transactional, like get a
Mhm.
can, walk a walk, get a check. Like, and back in the day, I got checks,
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
like
dating.
that's like,
I was
"Ooh,
like,
was
the
it a
people,
big check?
ooh, like
Was
a
it?"
big check. That was like, Mom, can $15 for the heart
Yeah,
walker,
yeah, yeah.
But, so at the same time that was happening and I was really ambitious, my grandmother had passed away in a senior home, and I wanted to do something to honor her. I discovered, she had a whole career in the beauty industry and was on the she was one of the ladies at the Fifth Avenue, Elizabeth Arden Red Door Salon, and I had this beautiful, like, sepia picture of my grandmother and of the other ladies, like, standing at the little salon things, and, I mean, it was like a hairbrush and a thing. It was
Yeah,
like salons back then were a little
yeah.
different, but this idea of self-care, and at the same time, I'm like, I loved giving my friends makeovers, like, take the
Mm.
Kevin Aucoin books and just, like, go
Yeah.
crazy. So, it was sort of bringing all those things, the things I was passionate about and that I loved fashion and beauty and makeup, and I loved making people smile, and I wanted to do something to honor my grandmother, that I remember having this idea on a car ride with my parents and to say, like, how cool would it be to, like, bring that beauty element to a local senior home? And that was in August of 1999, and I remember
Wow.
going in, like, a month later to pitch the activities director on this program I had thought of called GlamourGals, where we would come in and give for free, like, complimentary beauty makeovers, where we'd cleanse the face, apply a light application of makeup, and paint the nails. And it would just be like a fun beauty parlor experience. And it wasn't until January of 2000 that I actually had the first Glamour Gals makeover, because at that
Wow.
meeting, the woman was like, "Who's your corporate sponsor? Who's the adult in
Wha
charge?" And I'm like, "Let me write this down." And I was like, I
Right?
literally got back in my mom's minivan. She's a kindergarten teacher. I looked at her and said, "Hey, like, would you be the adult in charge?" They said, "I need an adult." And then I opened up the yellow pages and just started pitching and calling cosmetic companies to say, "Would you provide beauty products for us?" You know, it took a couple months, but our first makeover was myself and two volunteers I dragged from homeroom. So, two friends where I was like, "You need this on your college resume. You like makeup, right?" And I never expected to do it again. It was like one of those things I wanted to try. And it was those two volunteers after the makeover who immediate said, "Hey, when are we coming back?" And I was like, "Oh, wait a minute. Like, they want to do this again." And it caught from there.
I love that, and that is kind of the inspiration, right? There's something that happens where when we see someone do an act of kindness or we get invited into that act of kindness that can create a ripple effect, and so that was, like, a real example of seeing that in real time, and I'm sure you had no idea where it would grow to. But is there any, like, misconceptions in your work, that you wish people understood or they understood a little bit more about your program efforts?
I think, well, one, the name nonprofit is such a misnomer.
Of
Like,
course.
anybody knows running an organization takes resources and a
Yeah.
good business mind. So, that aside, because 25 years later, I just have to recognize that.
Yeah.
Because I was like at an event last week and people were talking about, well, NGOs. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like we have people problems. We got
Yes.
financial things. We have all the things a small business or large business has. It's just different regulations.
Yeah.
But in terms of our program specifically, I think sometimes people get hung up on the beauty or makeup aspect of it. I think it's important to recognize that element of touch and meaningful embrace that happens at a Glamour Gals event because of the fact that we use the makeup as a tool for connection and conversation, but people get hung up on it. And really, what we're doing is creating an open dialogue between two generations that is literally the building blocks in local communities to have community. If you think about how technology has pulled us apart, how COVID has pulled us apart, even the working environment, or I mean, just how our communities are set up and organized, there's so much fighting against the idea of human connection
Mhm.
in valuable and meaningful ways. And it almost seems insurmountable. I mean, I think you have kids, so you're like screen
Uh,
time. Don't even get me started.
no,
Like,
we're, like, constantly fighting it. I'm just
and
like
you're
yeah.
up against like $1 billion industry.
Mhm. Yeah.
But if you're like, okay, wait a minute, how can I take these steps just personally to change that and you get back a little bit of that control. For us as an organization, if you look past beauty as a tool and really focus on the action of connection and conversation and reflection and all these things that our volunteers, our young volunteers in high school and college, and even some of everybody from other ages who do it in other programming I mentioned, it's just this beautiful connection and continuous feedback loop of going and doing service in their local communities, reporting back to Glamour Girls National, getting more resources, more tools,
Yeah.
more help and support. And then we say, go back out again and do this. And to do that on a national scale takes thought, intention, and a lot of programming and resources.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And I mean, I talk about this a lot. My background is corporate sales and business development. And so when I started working for 6 Degrees, I would talk about revenue and people were like, we don't use that word, and I'm like, well, we still like you have to pay for things, and there's almost this um, you know, do it as cheap as you can and as lean as you can. And it's like, yes, and sometimes there are resources that are needed to make a greater impact if that is your goal as an organization.
I love that you brought up the quality conversation
Mhm.
because that has been a key stakeholder in all of our conversations for the past 25 years. I have really been, when I talk about like mission creep ever, anything like that, it is so important to recognize the importance of quality in our
Mhm.
programming because our return on investment is how we impact the
Yeah.
community. And quality is like a number one standard for us to make sure that even in growth, when people wanted to talk about numbers and growing wide, like I said, what's really, really unique about Glamour Gals is the relationships and engagement we have at such a community level across a national
Mhm.
scale, and that we police that quality every step of the way, even to hold back
Yeah.
on things that look really shiny and exciting,
Mhm.
but we know that it could sacrifice quality.
Yeah, absolutely. In that vein, 6 Degrees is all about storytelling. It's the thing that we believe has the way to change hearts and minds and really grow your own impact. When thinking about quality and connection, can you share a memorable kind of story of impact so that our listeners and supporters can really get a sense of what that looks like?
This story happened about 23 years ago, and it was, um, you know, a local volunteer that went into the senior home and was doing the Glamour Girls makeover, kind of like dancing around the seniors. So it's set in an activities room with a lot of seniors around. There's a little bit of bustle, the exchange of makeup. And this one senior was sitting quietly and just like not smiling at all. And, they had double checked with the activities director. Does the person really want to be here? No, no, no. She really wants to be there. And the teen volunteer, did the makeover, even, continued to just talk to the senior and maybe not too many responses, a tight lip sitting there, and left the makeover feeling like, you know what? I kind of failed. Like I didn't do what Glamour Gals is set out to do, to make people smile, to make people feel part of something. I got like
Mhm.
no feedback. And it was that evening at the dinner table that um, the volunteer had gotten a phone call from the activities director checking in about the senior and the teen because something had come up. And the senior's name was Faye. And um, she had said, the senior you worked with today, Faye, I just wanted to let you know that she had been severely depressed for a week and she had stopped eating.
Mhm.
And after the makeover, she started eating again. And that volunteer was me. I thought I was in trouble when she called at dinner time. What's incredible, and this doesn't happen often, and that's why it's maybe 23 years ago, the activities director called me at night to share that this senior, her life had had changed in a way that, she wanted me to know. You don't always get that feedback in life, but when you do, you go, wow, like I
Mhm.
left that makeover feeling like a failure, like what I had created wasn't worth continuing, that I had failed like my volunteers in some way because it wasn't getting the response that as a teen
Mhm.
I thought I was supposed to get
You
right
need your
away,
feedback loop.
right? And I instead I've been driven by that story to know that, even an hour of your time when you think you're not making an impact in someone's day, if you're doing the right thing, if you're showing up, if you're bringing that positive energy, that engagement to someone in their life, be it a compliment in a conversation or just holding someone's hand or just giving them an embrace, it will pay off in some way. And it won't always be as grand as a phone call at dinner time, letting you know, but you will see it in some way if you keep doing it. And to me, that's the story of Faye. I keep her with me. She was wearing that purple sweater. She sat at that makeover, hardly even communicating with me. And I danced circles around that woman, but at least I had that feedback loop to hear that what I was doing was
Yeah.
just keep doing it.
It made a difference. How can people support the work that you're doing at Glamour Gals?
Well, we have a very ambitious goal.
Mhm,
I talked about our My Dear Friend card writing program.
mhm.
We have a goal to reach 100,000 isolated seniors in care. So I would love to invite the greater community into our card writing to reach local seniors in their area or even ones that we can connect you with My Dear Friend cards. We would love if you have a young person in your life in high school and college that would be interested in starting a chapter to
Mm,
inspire them and definitely share our socials at GlamourGals with them
absolutely.
to consider that. And of course, if anything, the like and the follow, that's an easy pickup for anybody to do. But we're just excited to have this platform to share our mission, to broaden that reach because we just seen when people hear about what we're doing and how we're doing it, there's a beautiful connection in so many ways, and if it's, because you have a loved one in a senior home, you have a young person in your life that they hope that walks into those double doors and volunteers, or even, like, you personally or professionally that wanna get involved, like, we open our arms and our hearts and our doors wide, and we wanna welcome them all into our service in this 25th year.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. We are just so excited to see your purpose produced campaign, to share this content with our community, and just to continue to support all the work that you are doing at Glamour Gals. So thank you.
Thank you so much.